Hi, I'm Alan Murdoch. For the past 20 years, I've been buying, fixing, and selling properties right here in Southern Arizona. And I want to buy your property. Whether it's a house, apartment, commercial building, or vacant land, regardless of the condition or the situation, I want to talk to you. When you sell to me, I pay cash and it's hassle-free. No repairs, no closing costs, and no commissions. If you have a property you don't want to deal with and you want a quick solution, call, text, or visit selltalon.com. Again, that's selltalon.com.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Local Marana. Meet the Mayor, Ed Honea. Welcome back.
Oh, it's nice to be back, Clint. You know,
Took
we
the
haven't
summer
done
off,
this in
right?
a while, and
You had a birthday?
I just had a birthday.
39?
I celebrated the 60th anniversary of my 16th birthday.
Yeah. You had a good summer.
Oh, I had a
You
great
went and
summer.
saw your kids.
Went visited with kids,
Been to Texas a
grandkids,
couple of times.
you know. and,
Colorado,
California,
Texas.
I was in Nevada, and then now both of my adult kids live in California. And I tell everybody I'm going to a communist country, and I may not make it out, but I want to see my children and grandchildren.
Go leave some money there. And then next week, I know you got some things you want to talk about, but next week you're doing some pretty cool
going
stuff.
to Arizona League of Cities, and I'm fortunate enough to be on the executive board there with 25 mayors out of the 91 in Marana, and we have a 3-day celebration at Star Pass. And we talk about what's going on in the state or in the federal or in the local, and it's just a great event. I've been doing this for 36 years, and I learn something every time I go.
A birdie told me that you're going to get an award for those years.
36 years.
You served your community
And,
for 36 years.
I think I'm the longest serving elected official in Pima County.
Yeah, and played in several roles.
Right.
I mean, you're the mayor now, but you haven't always been the mayor.
I was council member I've been about half and maybe 18, 20 years as mayor, and the other half as a council member in Marana. Yes.
Of the second fastest growing city, certainly in Arizona, but I would argue the Southwest as a
About
whole.
61,000 people, and still growing fairly rapidly. There's a different type of growth now. Most of our new housing coming into Marana right now is single-family rental housing. And big major corporations are coming in from L.A. or New York or whatever with billions of dollars, and they buy a strip of land and build like 400 houses, just like a single-family neighborhood, but it's strictly rental.
Yeah, we need some in-betweeners.
And the one we're dealing with right now has 3 projects in Marana totaling about 1,000 homes.
That's awesome. Now, I know what you got on your mind. The Alphabet Soup program.
I was telling you when you were asking what I wanted to talk about today, I said I want to talk about MPOs, COGS, PAGs, CACs, and all of that type of stuff. So I thought an MPO is a Metropolitan Planning Organization. The federal government requires any city or town or any entity, a small county or whatever, once they're over 50,000, they have to set up an MPO. And basically what that is, it could be a county or it could be a city or a town. You start talking about roads and drainage and airports and strategies for your community. And there's a lot of federal money that comes into MPOs. The MPO in Pima County is PAG, Pima Association of Governments. And it's not just the city of Tucson, it didn't start independently as the city of Tucson. Mag and Phoenix did start independently as Phoenix, but it did not here. So we're all kind of got in at the same time.
How long has it been in existence?
Oh, man, I don't know,
Just
40 years or something.
How long?
40 years
40.
probably. It's been for a long time. And what that is the government wants you to form MPOs or COGs. I'm going to use a lot of these three-letter. A COG is Council of Government or Governments. So your MPO is PAG, Pima Association of Governments, which is a council of governments. And what that allows us to do in Pima County is we get about $25 million from the feds
Per year?
and about $25 million from the state.
So $50 million.
$50 million. That's for PAG. That's just not
Right.
RTA now. And it used to be STP money and 12-6 money. I think those acronyms have changed, but it's the same principle. And what you do is they send that in to help you coordinate planning for growth or development or drainage or airports or
Of a region.
the region in general,
Which is smart.
which is a really smart thing. You have to be 50,000 in your entity to start an MPO. The only other community in Pima County that's eligible to start an MPO is Marana. You have to be over 50,000 in the last decade census, and we were 52.3 or something in 2020.
So in Pima County right now, it would be Tucson.
and Marana.
It's 500.
But Tucson is not
9,000.
independently the MPO.
Right.
It's all of us together.
But
whole
that's the only two that qualify
That
in
would
this
qualify to independently be an MPO.
community. Okay.
And, we're kind of looking at that kind of stuff. Then your MPO is allowed to do other entities such as the RTA, Regional Transportation Authority. And it's the same 9 members that we have in the MPO. Be Tucson, Marana, Oro Valley, Sarita, South Tucson, Pascuayaki, Tohono O'odham, ADOT. There's 9 voting members on that board.
Can I ask you just a hypothetical? Vail's getting ready to incorporate
I certainly hope so. I was listening
So does
today.
that make this? Do you guys invite
It
them?
will
How
make.
does that work?
Absolutely. It would be. We'd have to vote them in, but it'd be an automatic. What is happening is the county in our new RTA program has a couple projects in the Vail area. If Vail incorporates on November 7th, and I certainly hope they do, and the town of Marana and the town of Sarita have been trying to help them in any way we can, they will become a member. It will be a 10-member board then instead of 9.
And everyone, correct me if I'm wrong, have equal shares.
Everybody
will.
gets one vote. When we originally did the RTA in 2006, the Regional Transportation Authority, the city wanted 3 votes and the county 2, and everybody else got 1. And what I told Mr. Huckleberry at the time is see you around.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to get a vote. And it doesn't matter if you're South Tucson with 5,000 people or the Pascuayaki tribe, which is a smaller unit and stuff as well. We want you to have a say here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you divide up the 3, and Pima County is
Yeah,
also an entity of the 9. You got about 540,000 people in Tucson. About 350 or 60,000 in Pima County. And the third largest entity would be Marana with 61,000 people. But I want my friends, in South Tucson, and to have a say. And so what we did is in 2006, it started before that, everybody working together, we decided that we needed a transportation authority in Pima County because we needed to build major roadways, interchanges, underpasses.
And we still do.
And we still do. And a couple things that we got out of this is the Ina Road interchange.
Yay.
And the Twin Peaks interchange. And in the next one, we've got 2 or 3 interchanges that we need to modify. But
Tangerine and Marana Road.
Tangerine Road will be a new complete interchange, like Ina. Cortero, which is a pretty big interchange now, one of the heaviest traveled in the entire urban area, we need to modify. And part of what the state wants and the railroad wants is us to shut the interchange down for like 2 years and build an Ina Road interchange. We can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, Cortero Road carries literally hundreds of thousands of cars a day.
Yeah.
And we can't shut it down. We're going to have to modify it. You know, you might shut a lane or two down here and there for a while, but you can't. And we've come up with innovative ideas. I think I had said before in a previous podcast, an overpass over the overpass.
Yeah.
And east and west on
absolutely.
On Cortero.
I think that's the only way that gets done.
And you would a lot of it would still go through the old interchange, but if you're going straight through on Cortero, you could go over and back on roads interchange over the interchange.
Because the real problem is going east at that intersection. Not that it couldn't use widening and improving.
But in the evening from about 3 to 5, it's going west.
Yeah. But at least you can turn that way. The east, you can't if there's a train and stuff. That's a mess. But you know what? I have a great deal of faith in the powers that be.
You know,
making that happen.
We've got to do a bunch of stuff. And we've had a lot of great success. I mean, Cerrito Road was built. Houghton Road was widened. We got the Twin Peaks interchange and the Ina Road interchange and different things in different communities. You know, State Route 77 was modified, Oracle Road. Tangerine Road, of which about half is in Oro Valley and half is in Marana. The piece in Oro Valley is completely done. And about 2/3 of the Marana piece is completely done.
We kicked there we were on that this morning. Remember when we used to do this the way through there?
So what we're starting probably within the next 6 months is 4-lane, all-weather, divided from the freeway up past Breakers Road on Tangerine.
Yeah.
And that project will start. That will still leave about a 2-mile stretch between that and Twin Peaks Road.
Or like I say, Breakers Road or PVV Fabricating, my buddy Peter and Larry and those guys. And we are going to go see them. I talked to them the other day.
Chose to, when they needed to expand their company, they left Tucson and came to Marana.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful?
And built a new building.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So we're back to the alphabet soup. We've got RTA.
So we have the RTA. Well, the RTA in 2026 is done. It's a 20-year program. I'll tell you a little bit. We were pretty ambitious when we started, and we figured we'd have $2 billion, $100 million a year for 20 years to build these projects. We came up way short. The PAG, and I mentioned those monies that the federal and state pay to PAG, roughly $50 million a year between state and federal. About 6 or 8 years ago, we decided to give all of that money to the RTA because the RTA was coming up way short on tax monies. We had a recession in that time.
08, 09.
People blame a lot of stuff on the COVID virus. Actually, sales tax went up during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
People were buying stuff, remodeling their house, doing whatever.
Yeah, Home Depot was.
And they were doing great. So that ended up being about $300 million that we gave to the RTA out of this $2 billion. And we still came up about $200 million short on a few projects. One Marana project, one county project, and a couple City of Tucson projects, which will go in the next RTA if it is successful. But what that says is we estimated $2 billion. We really only collected about $1.5 billion because we gave $300 million from PAG. We're $200 million short. Mm-hmm. So we've got to be pretty careful in what we're doing. So PAG created RTA, which created CAC, which is the Citizens Advisory Council, about 30 people. And what they're supposed to do is go through projects that have been submitted by the 9 entities. Well, the state doesn't submit any, but everybody else does, right. Tribe, the nation, all the cities and towns, the county. And go through the projects and choose what we're going to build if we're successful getting through the voters from 26 to 46. That's where the mess starts. And we're really having a lot of problems. And I'm going to call out the City of Tucson. I love the City of Tucson. My mother was born there. I was born there. My kids were born there. And one of my grandkids is born there. I'm not anti-Tucson. But what they're asking for is just unreasonable. So we go to the CAC committee, Citizens Advisory Committee, that's going to lay out the programs we're going to take to the voters to extend the program another 20 years. They want to spend all the money on transit. Mm-hmm. They have made statements at the meeting, we want to take lanes away from roads because what we want to do is force people out of their cars and into the buses or the choo-choo train, the light rail downtown. Right. I call it the choo-choo train. I'm not a big fan. And that doesn't work, and I'll tell you why. Tucson's 240 square miles. Marana's 130. You add the other cities and towns in urban Pima County, you're 500-600 square miles. The train runs right through the middle of town, actually from the Mercado to the university. People can't get to the train to ride it.
Right.
I mean, if you have to drive your car 10 or 15 miles to get to the Mercado to ride the train to the university,
a couple of miles,
you might as well just go to the university off the freeway, or ride a bike or something. So transit in the Tucson region is not really the answer. But the CAC committee, which are people that the City of Tucson got put on the committee, are insisting that the money be spent on transit and that roadways that were going to be expanded not be expanded. Build bike paths along the roadways or whatever. Well, that's great. Bike paths are fine for people that walk or ride a bike or do whatever. But the majority of the traffic in southern Arizona moves by car.
Yeah.
And we live all over the place. You may live in Pinal County and work in the City of Tucson up off a missile base or something. You can't ride transit. And you're not going to drive into the Mercado and get on transit to ride it to the university. Right. You're just not.
Isn't that the slogan when you move to the county? You're 20 minutes from everywhere.
Right. So what is happening now is the city's putting pressure on the other 8 members that if this new RTA next, we call it, doesn't have all this transit in it, we don't know if we want to be involved. Well, I can tell you, speaking for Marana and Sarita and I think Oro Valley, if it's all transit, we don't want to be involved. And we're having a hard time getting to the middle.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of getting to a point that if we don't start moving more toward the middle and not being irrational,
right,
we're not going to have an RTA next.
I think you could make that argument about a lot of things.
And what is happening, a friend of mine, Brian Keeley, Deputy Chief at Northwest Fire, is on that CAC board. And he made a statement at their meeting yesterday. And he said, you want 60% of the money spent on transit, talking to a couple of these really city appointments on that board. And they said, yes, we've got to have equity, and we've got to have transit for all, and we've got to have all this stuff. Well, nobody rides the transit now.
I know.
He said, you're going to get 60% of this.
Yeah.
Zero. Because if you drive the Pascua Yaqui people, or the people in Cerrito or Oro Valley or Marana or South Tucson, out, you're not going to have an RTA next. So then you're going to get 100% of nothing.
Right. Right.
Well, what's 100% of nothing?
It's still zero,
Still
Ed.
Nothing. And we're making that argument, the city needs this project more than anybody else. The roads in the city are horrible. Their parks are filling up with transients and homeless people and drug addicts.
I was in Tucson twice this weekend. I don't normally go to Tucson. I don't go south of the river. You know what? It's depressing. I'm sorry.
It is depressing, but for the Tucson to start digging out, they need this RTA program to help enhance roadways.
And they need a lot more than public transportation.
And move
to make
traffic
this happen.
around. Public transportation does not
They don't
work
fix
here.
anything.
I've been to Portland. I've been to Seattle. I've been to Denver and different places, and the transit works pretty well there. But those communities are on a much smaller grid.
Exactly.
I mean, Tucson itself is 240 square miles. Portland's about 100 square miles with the same amount of people. So transit
the density is there in some of these places.
There
Absolutely.
all the buildings down torn are 20 stories, and they have a lot of.
They talk about walking and stuff. People don't.
Well, you can't here.
I'm probably where we live. I'm probably 5 miles from the nearest place to eat or buy groceries. Am I going to walk to the grocery store?
And the thing is, if they continue to make that argument that it's got to be based on transit, I think the program's going to shut down in 2026 when we finish the first RTA. That's unfortunate. And it's going to be really unfortunate to everybody, but the biggest loser is going to be the city of Tucson.
Yeah.
But they want to continue to play hardball. And they don't want to build roadway miles because of need. They want to keep the roadways narrow because it said it forces people out of their car to get on the transit. But you can't get to the transit.
It's a mess. I was down there on campus, by the way, Saturday. All the kids are moving back in, young adults. That's a zoo. And I know that was a special weekend with the moving in, but getting to and from the university, from the freeway, was almost impossible. And like I say, very depressing. That's another issue.
Well, you know who rides the train?
Yeah, I do.
On Saturday evening, university students jump on the train. They ride it downtown. There's a couple bars down there, and a couple of them are kind of fun for young people.
Yeah.
They spend a little time. They can have a few drinks. They don't have to jump in a car. They jump on a train, ride it back home.
Great. Love it.
That's the only time anybody rides the train. Right. Nobody rides the train. I went in with a friend a few months ago, and we went to the Mercado and caught the train. We were just going to ride the train to ride the train.
And you rode by yourself.
And the two of us and three other people were on the train. Yeah. We went all the way to the university and back.
Did your loop?
I mean, we just did the loop. It's a beautiful train.
Oh,
it was a comfortable ride.
Yeah.
There was nobody on it.
Yeah.
Nobody.
I can't remember how that cost. How much did that
$200
cost?
million.
Yeah. $200 million. So 2 years worth of money from because
Yeah, well, they got
I know it was
60
spread
million
out, but
from the feds, and they got 50 or 60 million from the RTA.
but 10% of the money over a 20-year period went to that project
and
that no
nobody
one's
uses
using.
and they want to expand it.
Yeah, come on.
Now they're talking about running the train to the Tucson Mall. Nobody's going to ride the train to the mall.
Let me ask you a question. Speaking of train, and this is a little off topic, but it's not. Would a train between Phoenix and Tucson work?
Yes, but $2 to $4 billion.
I know.
Dollars.
It seems to me like it would work.
Yes,
that's a different
but,
animal. But the cost, but the expense.
It's kind of like, yes, it would work.
Would you say 2 to 4 billion?
Billion.
So the entire 20-year budget.
Well, it would have to be almost done on its
and that's
own,
separate.
and
That's a separate
it would have
budget,
to be
but-
a state project with
state,
federal
federal,
money and all that kind of stuff.
But what I'm saying is the regional 200 million or 200 billion would be consumed by one project.
That
I know it's apples to oranges, but you know where I'm coming from.
that train would have passengers.
I think it'd be full.
Tucson to Phoenix.
I think it'd be full
We have people
all the time. By the
in
way,
the town of Marana that work in Chandler and Tempe and Phoenix that drive it every day.
yeah, I was one of those guys. I used to
have
drive up there every day.
our former town manager, Jamshid Mehta,
Uh-huh.
lives in Phoenix, and he drove to Marana every day for 6 years.
Yeah.
People will drive. I mean, it's an hour and a half drive, basically. On
You know what,
I-10.
Ed? That's why inner city trains don't work. We're car society out here, and until we change that, you're never going to sell the other.
Well, and a lot of the people moving
Buses, yet I do see people on buses, city buses. I mean, it's not like Chicago or somewhere where.
But you know what? There's not. I mean, it's kind of like, do all the young airmen from Davis Monthan get on the train and ride it to down? No, because there's no train out there. And it's, 10 miles to get to the train to ride it downtown. Yeah. So a lot of these things are not working. And what I'm saying now and I'm putting this right on the city.
Yeah.
If you don't come to the table with a reasonable plan, the RTA is going to go away.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a sad day in Pima County.
For all of us, all 1 million people that live in this community will be adversely affected by that.
But it's kind of getting to the point anymore that a lot of people make argument on politics and not on reality.
Right.
Politics, and I'll even break it down to Democrat and Republican. I've pretty well taken the gloves off. The National Democratic Party is we need transit everywhere. Well, transit in New York City and Philadelphia and Chicago and all that kind of stuff, Boston, Baltimore, where you have millions of people in a small area, transit works great.
You know why it works great, Ed? They had that plan in the beginning. Right. They didn't come in and try to retro. Think about it. The places you just mentioned, subways were, and public transportation was first.
Right.
But which allowed them to build into that.
But what happens is out here it doesn't work.
No.
Look at the great country of California.
Exactly.
They were going to build a train from L.A. to San Francisco at a cost of $25 billion or something.
Right.
They built about a fourth of it.
Crickets.
And
crickets.
They don't have the money to build it.
People, again, they're like we are, Ed. Everybody wants their car. They want to drive to work. They want to park. They got 14 stops on the way home.
What I'm saying is in our region, we better wake up and start working together And Marana is big enough to form an MPO.
That's where I was getting ready to go.
Metropolitan Planning Organization.
We're the only ones, right?
The only ones.
Yeah.
But if the city insists on being unreasonable and wanting hundreds of millions for transit that nobody's going to ride, Marana can form its own MPO. And I actually think that some of the other communities, the Vales, the Cerritos, the Oro Valleys, maybe the Pasquayaki, they may come with us.
Now, I'm going to get in the weeds. How does that happen? If Marana is eligible because of population and the other ones aren't eligible because we incorporate, not incorporate, but
what
can we involve them?
Is the only way to get this federal and state shared revenue is through the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization. If you're not at 50,000, you can join with somebody that already is.
Oh, because that's why all the other ones are there now.
The city of
Makes
Casa
total
Grande
sense.
and
I
my
get you.
friend Craig McFarland's the mayor up there, about 10 years ago formed an MPO in Pinal County. They were, at that time, the only city in Pinal County over 50,000. The MPO had just been the county. Well, Casa Grande formed an MPO because they were big enough to do one on their own. Well, then Coolidge and Eloy
Came a part of that.
and a few of them joined them.
Yeah.
Instead of being part of the county MPO.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Could just for the sake of argument, could we, Marana, co-op with? Is this bound by county boundaries? I guess is what I'm saying.
No.
So we could say to Casa Grande or Pinal County, hey, we'll be. Can you want to be a part of our group?
To join with Casa Grande because they're 40 miles from North Marana.
Right.
Doesn't really work.
Okay.
Because it's a.
I get you.
Kind of an
but Oro Valley works,
commercial,
Sayurita works,
more
Vail
dense
works.
area. That's why the 50,000 thing is set
I
on.
like this. I like where you're going.
But if we were to leave and form our own MPO, Cerrita and Oro Valley and Vail could join us.
I like this. I like where you're going.
And basically, you leave the city on its own.
How would that affect the revenues? The monies.
Well, the monies would be the same.
So it'd still be 200 using old school numbers?
No. But the money would be the same. How much money comes into Pima County?
Okay.
Right now, all goes to PAG.
Okay.
The federal and state money.
Okay.
If Marana forms an MPO, we would get a percentage. Say Marana, Cerrita, Oro Valley, Vail, 200,000 of the million people here, we'd get 20%.
20%, okay.
So we would get, 5 million from Fed and state.
I like it.
But you got less people to spread it under, and we're lesser populations.
And that's not ideal because Tucson is our neighbor.
Well,
ideally, we need them to cooperate, and us with them.
What
and them
will
with
happen if Tucson stays on the track they're on now? They're going to become Detroit Southwest.
Yeah.
It's older roads, older parks, older housing, lower income per capita. And the suburbial areas, like I said, Oro Valley, Marana, Cerrita, Vail, will grow like crazy, which we're doing now. And the city will be in sad shape.
Yeah.
Really sad shape. I mentioned they have half the police officers they need. They've got drug addicts hanging out in the parks.
It's depressing.
They just can't figure out how to do it.
Yeah, it's depressing.
And if you want to run on the progressive left direction, you are not New York City or Boston. You're Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to fix this, Clint, or we're going to be in trouble. I don't want Tucson to fail.
No, absolutely
I
not.
love Tucson.
No, absolutely
and
not.
the people.
Yeah.
But the government right now in Tucson is failing the people.
And you know what, Ed? You guys just can't give up on that. I know that's I mean, when I say you guys, I mean you guys. You can't give up on that, despite some of the opposition and I mean, you know what I'm saying without calling names.
You're arguing about a city. Grand Canyon University now has more students than the University of Arizona. I know it. It is huge.
Beautiful campus. I know some kids going there.
Huge,
young
huge
people.
campus. They wanted to come into Tucson. Over on the southwest side. And Regina Romero and her group just told them to go away.
Yeah.
Well, now they've got like 90,000 students. Now, a lot of them are online, but a lot of them are in campus as well.
I had no idea they'd built that new campus up there. I thought they were still in the center part of town. And somebody goes, no, Clint, or where are they on?
Well, no. Their campus is not in the best part of Phoenix.
No, but I mean, it used to be in a worse part of Phoenix.
But they bought a bunch of land around them. They
35th
have a
Avenue.
Huge campus.
Was that Glendale? Roughly?
No, it's still in Phoenix.
But I mean, is it?
They may have a Glendale campus too.
Where's the big one at though? Is it on?
It's in South Phoenix.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, they were told to go away.
Yeah.
Tom Volge years ago, when IBM was coming into the tech park, had 400 or 500 employees, and they were going to be they were going to be another Raytheon. We would have had IBM and Raytheon here. And Volge went in and said, we're going to tax your wholesale product. And IBM said, I don't think
we'll
so.
Go somewhere else.
And they left.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, we better, I don't care if people have ideology, but you got to figure out a way to pay for it and a way to operate it. And
you got to follow the money.
Right now, I mean, I don't want to just keep ragging on the city, but RTA Next is really important. You know, you got 3 interchanges in Marana. I think there's one in Sarita. There's a bunch of work being done in Oro Valley, some out in Vail. You know, a little bit of work at the Drive in the Nation and stuff. But most of the work is city.
Yeah.
Most of the work is city. And you have these individuals on the Citizens Advisory Committee, CAC, that are city-oriented, that want to do away with capital road expansion projects and build transit only. Not going to work.
And who is it? The city or the county are now encouraging their employees to work from home because it's too dangerous where they work.
Well, some of
I mean,
it
that's
is, some
part
of
and
it's
parcel,
the
but
city.
It's like, come on.
And I love the city of Tucson. I mean, I just do.
Well, really, what's not to like? The history is there. We got a cool history.
Well, but
there's so much fun stuff down there.
They have changed so much. It's not safe to go to downtown Tucson.
You can't get there. The roads are horrible.
It's not safe to go to a lot of the neighborhoods at night. Crime is horrible. You know, and what is happening is the wealth is moving out of the city.
Absolutely, it is.
If you go to Marana, Oro Valley, and Sarita, the average income's $94,000, $95,000 a year. Yep. That might be one professional or both mom and dad working. Right. In the city, it's about 45.
Yeah,
about half.
About half.
So the wealth is moving to the suburbs. They may come into the city to work.
Right.
They go back out to the suburbs. Yeah. That's where they buy their groceries. That's where they buy their car. That's where they buy their clothing.
That's where their kids are educated. That's where the schools get the most money.
We're getting ready. Marana's getting ready to build another K through 8 in Gladden 2, starting within the next few months. If all the wealth moves out of the city, if somebody comes into the city and works, and then they take that money and they go to Marana, Oro Valley, Sarita, Vail, wherever, and spend the money there. Clothing, cars, food, recreation. So you're just taking wealth out of your community and spending it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And
they haven't gotten that in a long time, have they, Ed? I mean, it's been this way for
like I said, I am not anti-Tucson. I love the community. You know, my grandparents lived in Tucson. My mother went to Tucson High. You know,
As you said, you were born there.
I was born in St. Mary's. My children were born in TMC, and one of my grandchildren was born in St. Joe's. I'm not anti-Tucson, but if the Tucson government doesn't get their act together, they're going to go under.
You know, you mentioned the people that work in town. My sister, when you were saying that, my sister used to live on Hampton, which is, what's that called? Sam Hughes
neighborhood.
And it was an older neighborhood.
It's a beautiful neighborhood.
It was in
actually.
there where, what's his name used to live? You know who I'm talking about? The Mafia Don. What was his name? Bonanno.
Oh, yeah.
She lived right around the corner from Bonanno. When
Those
he used
are
to live
100-year-old homes.
She remodeled it?
It is a beautiful neighborhood, but you know what? Don't walk around the streets there.
And you know what she did? And she worked at that time at UMC. Now she works at the U of A. She's in the nursing staff. And she moved. She took her money from there and moved up to Oro Valley. So the person you just talked about actually left the city downtown near where she worked to go live in Oro Valley where it's safer and spend her money, and she commutes into the U of A
and
every day.
if you start looking at it, even a lot of the jobs, Roush, which used to be Ventana Medical,
Yep, right
in
up
Oro
there.
Valley,
Right up there.
hundreds of employees, thousands maybe. You've got Sergeant Controls and FL Smith Krebs in Marana, both with over 500 employees, and actually, Sergeant is looking for another place in Marana because they want to expand to 1,000.
Yeah.
We've got part of the Roush. We've got 2 buildings in North Marana. We've got companies coming to Marana, coming to Oro Valley, coming to Sarita. We're getting to the point there are a lot of jobs in the suburban cities as well, and they're not going to have to come into the city even to work.
We live, from where we're at right now, we're 5 minutes from the town of Tucson. Is that fair to say?
Right.
Right now.
Downtown
And I'm here every day. This weekend was the first time I've actually been into Tucson proper, probably in 6 or 8 months.
Right. Well, I don't ever.
I only went there because I had to. You know,
my church is here. The children I know, family, all go to Marana schools. You know, the town of Marana has beautiful parks. We're in the process of building a new $64 million
it's fresh
community recreation aquatic center in downtown Marana. They're going to break ground within the next couple of months. It's going to take about 2 years to build it. Early 2025, it's going to be open. We have recreation, we have schools, we have churches, we have jobs, we have parks. You're not going to have to leave our community
to do anything
unless you go visit family out of state or something. Somewhere.
Hey, we're coming up on the end of this episode, Ed, and I want to echo what you said. We're rooting for Tucson. We want Tucson to be
absolutely
incredibly successful. I'm going to come, because you've said that. No bias, no anti-Tucson, but get your act together down there. We're here to help, but what you're doing right now is just off the rails. We're not accomplishing anything, and you're not benefiting anybody.
If they continue to insist on all the money being spent on transit, and not expanding roadways or freeway interchanges or any of this kind of stuff, RTA Next will fail.
Okay, we're going to leave it right there. We're going to pick it up the next time.
Don't mean to be negative, Clint. Usually I'm very positive
absolutely.
on these podcasts.
You know what? It's just facts.
But sometimes you just have to talk about
facts sometimes
reality.
are dirty. That's just the reality. Sausage is making sausage isn't pretty, but we all enjoy it.
Right.
I
Thank
know
you
did.
very much for having me
It's
on.
my
And thank
pleasure,
you for the
Zoe.
opportunity.
Hey, Local Marana, localmarana.com, all the groups, all the Facebook pages, all over digital. We're also sponsored by Copper Creek Cookies. Sell to Allen, our good friend, Top, Vision Church. I know I'm leaving a few out, but we appreciate you guys. Quality Lube and Tube. Thank you. Thank you. David was in my ear. Thank you, David. As always, an awesome job. He just sits in there and just keeps us going.
Look forward to moving on with the podcast and maybe some new adventures as well.
Hey, Ed's going to have an announcement here real soon about some stuff.
And that's pretty exciting to me because what it does is it gets information out to the citizens of not only Marana but the entire region.
Exactly. I'm gonna leak
and
it.
That new format, I think.
I'm gonna leak it just a little bit right now. Look out for Ed. The Ed Honea Show is coming soon. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Appreciate you.